call the meeting to order, please. First item, if you would all please rise, remove your hats, join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Item 3, adjustments to the agenda. Mr. Eastman?
Yes, 2 adjustments this evening. The first one is to add a business item, we'll call it F, new teacher nominations, or new teacher nomination. And we will also be removing committee item C, which is facilities and transportation report. That's it, thank you.
Okay. At this point, I would accept a motion regarding the minutes of February 3rd.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of February 3rd. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Report from the board chair, I have nothing. Report from the superintendent.
Yes, good evening, everybody. A couple of things as part of my superintendent's report. There are a number of documents in front of you, and I will also be handing out some documents. So the first document I'm going to hand out, 1, 2, and this will take some time, so I apologize to the audience for the delay. The rest of it should be here. So the first document I am going to hand out is a document that lists out the camera placements throughout the district. Part of policy ECA, video surveillance on school property. I'm required to report to the board the location of those cameras. I would ask, please, that you keep those the list confidential, as there are some security implications. Not that you have anything to hide, but if somebody's planning something, knowing where the cameras are certainly would be helpful. So, and also it's obvious where the cameras are. So, per the policy, I hand it out to you. I also am going to hand out. Anybody that's following me in politics knows that there is some work being done by the legislature in regards to the funding formula. And Jeremy Ray, who's a superintendent downstate, a graduate from Merritt-Wegas High School, and actually I think still owns property over there, has done a report called the Maine School Funding Zip Code Crisis, and it was written by him. And it does an interesting analysis of the disparity of our funding formula. The current legislature will be working on this within the next couple of weeks. LD 2226, an act to amend the Essential Programs and Services School Funding Formula. Also, in addition, I think in front of you, you have the superintendent evaluation tool. The ad hoc committee has met and completed their work, and we're putting in front of you the tool which has a survey for your staff and the board and the administration. Thank you. And so we'll bring that back at the April meeting for a board vote. So if you take some time between now and then to look it over, that'd be greatly appreciated. I did participate in a meeting with the attorney representing the district in the Maine Human Rights complaint, Jack Baldacci from Steve Smith Trial Lawyers. Long story short, the response to the Maine Human Rights complaint will be submitted to the Kennebec County Court on Friday. My takeaway from the meeting is that these proceedings will take some time, and Attorney Baldacci even estimated that it could be into 2027 before we hear anything. I did have one board member who asked to see a copy of the hourly fee agreement and engagement letter, and so I will pass along to you all that so that you can have that in your possession. Also from John Russell, who's here this evening, the Speech and Debate Team Advisor, I share the following. Amy Watson is the Maine District Speech and Debate Administrator of the Year. Considering the unflagging support and unbridled enthusiasm Amy has shown our team all season long, John was glad to nominate her for this award, and so gratified to see that the other coaches of the Maine District agreed that she deserves it. This is an NSDA accolade, which actually means that Ms. Watson is now in the running for the National Speech and Debate Administrator of the Year, a designation which will be celebrated at the Nationals in Richmond this summer. So congratulations to Amy Watson. Spring sports will begin with our pitchers and catchers starting March 23rd. Coaches for the spring sports are as follows. High school varsity baseball, John Fry, JV baseball, Jason Reckner. Varsity softball, Greg Ingalls. High school track, Adam Ward. Assistant track is Richie Grant. Middle school baseball, Blake Alley. Middle school softball, Lauren Hanna. And middle school track, Alicia Bryant. And lastly, March 11th is Aspirations Day for the high school. Whitney Crabtree has done an exceptional job putting together an opportunity for most every student to explore a career or post-secondary opportunity. Here is a list of the opportunities for our high school students to participate in. We will have the Marine Trades Forum, and there is a flyer for that. And I believe this is year number 2 for the Marine Trades Forum. Great opportunity for those interested in the fishing industry. And what's also great about the Marine Trades Forum is that we do invite students and staff from other schools. So it's a great way to showcase our school. There are sessions on financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. We have a group that's going to the University of Maine and another group going to Hudson and NESCOM, as well as EMCC. We have a group headed to HCTC. They'll be working on their Skills USA work. That competition is coming up next week. And we have groups going out into the community to explore careers in business, law, healthcare, and trades. A special thank you to the following businesses who have participated or will be participating in Aspirations Day. Maine Savings Federal Credit Union, Bar Harbor Bank and Trust, DC Towing, Sorrento Dental, Hamilton Marine, our own Mountain View School, Jordan Electric, KMH Carpentry, Types Performance Edge, UBE Physical Therapy and Performance, and MBI Hospital, and the Lisa Stewart Women's Center. And a special, again, thank you to Whitney and all those teachers that will make this day possible for our students. And that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Eastman. At this time, we will take public comment. If we have people signed up, looks like we have people signing up. And okay, 3 speakers tonight. First, Tammy Taylor from Morineville.
I hope I can be heard. Can I be heard? Excellent. This is my 4th time speaking to the full board and 6 times I've attended and spoken at subcommittee meetings. I've been calm, patient, and hopeful, and that time has passed. The first time thing I taught my kids and my foster kids was the definition of integrity. Do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it, and if you don't, clean up your mess, make a new agreement, and move forward. I wanted to believe this entire board has integrity and ethics. I wanted to believe that they would follow the primary responsibility of following all of the RSU24 responsibilities. Clearly I was wrong in that belief, and I'm not afraid to say when I'm wrong. This board is a mirror image of the current federal administration lawlessness. It was bewildering to me that the school board in my own district would do this. So I started looking into the why. In December 25, a specific board member ambushed the rest of the board to hold an executive session to vote on the new lawyer and remove the then lawyer for Title IX only. This lawyer, Steve Smith Trial Lawyers, proudly displays on their website that they defend child pornography, sex crimes, internet sex crimes, domestic violence crimes, child sex crimes, sexual assault crimes, stalking, violation of protection orders, and 0 experience in education law. How is it that we are here? Why would any board member want to hire a defense lawyer that defends disgusting and revolting crimes? I know why, and they know why. And we are going to tell everyone why. This is highly unethical and without integrity. And those who have either listened to the lies and got on board or capitulated because they're tired of fighting, or those who have hid more things from the district with the perception that continuing to tell lies will protect them from the truth. We know the unethical things and that have been happening, and accountability is inevitable. If you want to continue to believe that Title IX does not protect gender identity, okay, keep believing that. You've been given 5 months to clean up and stand up for all children in our communities, and nothing has happened. Now, the time of waiting is over, and we will make sure everyone in our communities and the established officials will know what they have done as we take to the streets, doorsteps, media, and even the appropriate authorities. Let me see if you can conjure up money for the Lions Defending Freedom for multiple lawsuits for oh so many taxpayers. Tonight is the last night you get to think about your actions or lack of actions, and because if the unethical behavior I've listed has not ceased, it begs the question, what more of unethical things are happening in this district? The taxpaying people in these communities and the Leviticua community are done waiting for you to find another way to cover your unethical behavior and lack of integrity. If you're a board member and have done nothing wrong, then you have nothing to worry about. I digress.
Thank you. Next, we have Tina Porter from Waltham.
We came here today because we all care deeply about the education and safety and well-being of our children. School's a place of learning, academically and socially, that reflects the values and the guidance of their parents. I just want to stress that a child's prefrontal cortex does not fully develop until they're 24 years old. The policy we have for pre-K through 12th grade, the policy that we do have is for pre-K through 12th grade. Children are still developing. Major decisions regarding gender should take place at home, not in a classroom or a counselor's office. Children deserve to learn in an environment free from adult-level complexity and ideological topics inappropriate for their age level. Please vote to accept the Title IX policy and make it clear safe spaces for all children. What children decide to do after graduation is on them. Make sure child abuse is not happening in our schools pre-K through 12th grade. And even if it's just 1%, please save them. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, Crystal Burke from Hancock.
Hi guys, I'm speaking off the cuff. I thought I had a school board meeting myself tonight, but ours has been shifted. But really, each time I've come up here to speak, I have asked you guys to consider your job is to defend each and every single one of your students, to help them grow up as healthy and safe and sound as possible. And the things I hear is you've hired attorneys whose job it is to make school board policies shift so it's easier for them to abuse children. And you've decided that's the right attorneys to hire. I hear other rumors of horrors happening in the background, of you guys taking political stances that are going to hurt your kids. And that there are pushes to potentially make this even worse, because you hate one kid, or even the potential of one kid. So you think you're going to shift an entire school and create a giant fight in support of a president who's already been judged by a judge to have committed sexual assault, and who thinks that it was okay to walk in on girls in the middle of changing rooms at modeling events. Girls that I actually know, and I know what he's done, and it will eventually come out. You are defending the wrong man with the wrong policies that will just make it easier to hurt the kids that you are pretending to protect. Think smarter before you take any action here, because it will come back to bite you if you are wrong. If you are standing up for a false god, it's gonna bite you, and you know it. Because you were a little girl too, or a little boy, and you've seen your friends play at being girls and boys and being cats and dogs and being whatever as their kids and growing up and playing the roles of firefighters and police officers and presidents. And being a child is when we get to explore this. And having parents say that, and school board members say that you should be punished for thinking, for trying to explore your world and your body. What are you guys really trying to do other than start a fight among the adults that's hurting all these kids? Please be careful. You have a bigger goal than you are aware of.
Thank you. Moving on to the business portion of the agenda. Item 8A, 21st Century Grant Application. Shelley Shildroth, thank you.
Hi there, I'm here to request permission to submit a grant application for the 21st Century Learning Center grant. RSU24 currently holds two 21st Century Community Learning Center grants. The 4-year grant received in 2022, which services Cave Hill, Mountain View, and Sumner, is set to expire on June 30th. Excuse me. The Maine Department of Education has released a request for proposals for funding new, expanding, and renewing 21st grant programs, and we have submitted an intent to apply and expect to be determined eligible to apply for a renewal grant in the amount of $275,000 that would service grades K through 5 at Cave Hill, Mountain View, and grades 6 through 12 at CMSLC. For July 1st, 2026, all the way to June 30th, 2030. The grant would continue for a total of 4 years, with drop-down funding scaling each year. Funding for year 1 would be 100% of the $275,000, year 2 at 97% of that, year 3, 94% of that, and year 4 at 91% of that, equaling $250,000. Given that we meet our outlined proposal outcomes each year, the grant would last for 4 years, totaling $1 million, $1,050,000, and we are requesting permission to submit a grant application on or before April 7th, 2026, to propose continued programming at Cave Hill, Mountain View, and this school right here somewhere.
I make a motion that we accept Shelley's, sorry, my voice is going out on me, Shelley's proposal to grant for the 21st century.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Yeah, Carl.
Hi.
Hi.
I did have a question in regards to, there's some language that I've heard over the last couple of weeks in the budget regarding something to do with in kind. So I looked that up because I wasn't aware what that meant, and it basically stated that if we are accepting this grant, we then also need to more or less reciprocate in kind back towards the program, I guess. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I can, yeah.
So can you tell me what our responsibilities are if we accept the grant?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the district is required to cover 35% of transportation costs for this particular grant. The other grant that we have for Ella Lewis and Peninsula School, we're required to cover 50% of transportation costs. And that is a requirement of the grant.
I apologize. You said 35% was for Cave Hill and Mountain View?
And CMSLC.
Okay. And then the other one, 50%?
And that amount this year, by the way, is a little over $28,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Mountain View, Cave Hill, and Sumner?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we're required to provide transportation 2 days a week for programs. And that transportation is for all of the students that participate. And I did ask Kristen to put together those numbers for us today. And at Cave Hill, we have 42 students. Mountain View, we have 90 students. And in this building, there are 168 students who participate in some way. And those numbers, the numbers we have each day are much higher on the days that we provide the transportation, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Do we have numbers for Ella Lewis and
Yes.
Peninsula?
Yep. That's 25 to 30 at Ella Lewis. Sorry, that's transportation. Participating at Ella Lewis, we have 35 who are signed up. Peninsula School, we have 20 who are signed up. Those are students who are signed up. That doesn't mean that they attend every single day, but those are the numbers.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to point out that the number that you said that uses transportation, that's almost 100% of all of the students that use it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hearing no further questions. All those in favor? All right. Next item, transition of 4-year-olds to public schools, Sue Layton.
Hi, everybody. I have a voice tonight. Sorry, Katie. Some or maybe all of you know that for the last several years, the Maine Department of Education has begun a process of transferring the responsibility of children that are 3 and 4-year-olds to public school, children with disabilities, the responsibility for providing those services to public schools. And so every district in Maine has to have that completed by 2028. And RSU24 is going to begin that process this fall. So we're getting started on that, and so that's what I'm here to kind of give you some information about. So we are starting with only 4-year-olds this fall, and we'll work on that process this year, and then next year we'll plan to add 3-year-olds to that. It's apples and oranges. There's a lot more that goes into 3-year-olds, and so we're going to do that sort of one step at a time. And since our district already has preschool programs and special ed providers in place, I think we will be in a better position than some other districts will be. So I think we're pretty well prepared that way for it. We are planning at this time to add a preschool classroom back to Peninsula. We took that out because we didn't have students. We are planning, of course pending budget approval, to put that classroom back in there so that all of our schools will have a program. And we believe that will help us to accommodate all students with disabilities in our school district. So that will be nice to be able to keep them here rather than have to pay other places to help us with them. And also would enable those students to be educated with their non-disabled peers, which of course that's what we want. Most 4-year-olds will be able to receive services right in our schools from our own providers, and so that's also going to increase the accessibility and consistency for interventions for our littlest ones. The Department of Education is providing support for the process through a number of ways. They're providing meetings and trainings that are happening on a regular basis for us that special ed directors, Mr. Eastman and Melinda Beers in our office, our finance office, are attending to sort of figure out the path forward and all the things that we need to do to prepare for that. There are also sort of month-by-month tasks that we need to do to be able to be ready for it. The funding model right now, we're told that it's at 100% for services provided directly to students. It seems like they're pretty dedicated to that. Other districts, this will be in cohort 3, so there have been 2 years of this. This is the second year, and directors are telling me that's actually true. They are getting the funding for what they need for their little ones. And so a process has been developed on the state side of it, and we will be developing the process for documentation and billing and things like that on our side. Diane and I have been working with the elementary principals to figure out sort of the day-to-day details, schedules, things like that. We'll continue to do to work on that this year. Another really important piece that is being worked on, it actually is still being sort of thrown around a little bit by the Education Committee at the state, is about the certification of special ed providers, because it is an early childhood certification. Regular ed certification was changed to include 4-year-olds, but special ed, only one of the special ed certifications was. And the one most people need wasn't yet. And so there is another certification that is 282B, it's called. And so the state is trying to help with that by reimbursing the cost of conditional certification and professional certification to staff, so they won't have to pay additional money out of their pockets. That will be reimbursed for them. And they're also helping with some coursework payments. Of course, we are concerned about our staff having to take extra coursework and do more. So we're trying to help support that at the state and help them understand what they already do for their certification and find a balance there. So that is sort of still being worked on, but we'll be working with our staff soon to begin that process for them. I'm happy to say that we're pretty much on track for our monthly kind of things we need to get done. We're actually a little bit ahead. We've completed a required transition assessment, which was a very long document, about a 20-page document for each school that principals and teachers worked on, and got that finished and submitted to the state. And that helped identify areas that we're really strong in and areas that we might need some support in. And we've created spreadsheets of equipment and supplies and things like that, because the state is supplying the furniture, equipment, things like that for all of the classrooms in all of the schools. And so they should be well equipped to handle this transition. And then as we continue into next year, there are going to be problems to solve, I'm sure, and things to be worked on. But we found we can learn a lot from the first two cohorts. And we are doing that, and like I said, attending the meetings and just learning all that we can, so that we can make this a successful transition for our little guys. So, any questions for me?
So how many children are you anticipating as 4-year-olds to enter?
So actually, I forgot to mention that I have access to the early childhood database, so I can see how many 3 and 4-year-olds are coming. And right now we have 3 4-year-olds and 3 3-year-olds. So you know how that goes if we build it. So we're expecting more of that. And that number always changes. It will change before school starts, but right now that's what we have.
I just want to clarify, we're not taking 3-year-olds next year, just 4-year-olds. And I know I've already asked you this, but the rest of the board wasn't present to hear, because we talked about it at our last meeting. But just how are we making sure that we're identifying kids, because like we're supposed to be, it's specifically special ed, obviously, because that's why you're presenting.
Right.
And how do we identify the needs that early? Because a lot of times they haven't been in a, a public setting, and
Yep.
We're taking over kind of like the CDS.
Yes.
So I just thought it would be beneficial for everybody to hear your answer.
Yep, we actually will use the same process for that we do for our 5-year-olds. We are required to do a child find process, and so anybody can refer a student. We have providers in the community do that sometimes, parents do, different people do. And then we're required to do evaluations. The difference, really the big difference in doing that for 4-year-olds and doing that for 5 and up is we will have to have meetings year-round. And so we will have to have meetings through the summer, which right now we don't have. We strictly follow the school calendar. And so I expect we're going to need to pay people in the summer who are willing to come to those meetings and be able to attend. There are 4 required people to be at a meeting, and 1 is a special ed teacher and 1 is a regular ed teacher. So we will have to probably pay people to do that, and also people to evaluate.
Right, and we'll probably have to get updated evaluation tools, because
Yes.
the ones that we use won't be appropriate.
Correct. We have some of those in the budget now, and all of our therapists have done some inventory to see what they'll need and given me an updated list for that. Good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm showing my age here. How does this compare or relate or pick up where Head Start left off? Is Head Start even still a program?
Head Start is still a thing, yes. And so some schools and some agencies do still have Head Start, and some of them are doing them in their school programs. We won't be this year, but I don't know if that will happen in the future. Right now, that won't be. But yep, there are still lots of Head Starts around.
As someone who didn't learn to read until 3/4 of the way through 4th grade, I applaud this effort. The quicker we get on various learning, not disabilities, but different ways of learning, the easier it is for everybody, I think.
And I think we will see the benefit of that, that we'll be able to address these things earlier and we'll know about the children earlier too, so that helps us to plan more and things like that. Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. All right, 8th grade class trip, Devin Young.
Good evening. I thought that our presentation last year went incredibly well, having some of our students present. And so I have Bailey Bridges and Tessa Hudson here to talk about where they would like to go, and I am here to help answer any questions after.
Members of the school board, our name are Bailey Bridges and Tessa Hudson. We are part of the middle school student council on behalf of the 8th grade class request approval for a field trip to Six Flags New England.
We are planning our trip for Wednesday, June 10th to Thursday, June 11th to Six Flags New England in Massachusetts. We will be gone for 2 days. This includes travel time from Sumner to Massachusetts, an overnight stay in a hotel, and a full day at the park. We have worked together as a class to raise $11,000 to cover all the costs.
We believe that this trip will provide us with educational and social emotional opportunities. While Six Flags is known for its amusement rides, it also offers educational experiences such as science and engineering principles. We will explore topics relevant to our science curriculum such as force, acceleration, and energy conversion. It also includes math and data analysis. We will be able to collect data regarding ride time, speed, and capacities, allowing us to practice data collection, drafting, and analysis skills.
Social emotional learning opportunities. This field trip will serve as an opportunity for social emotional learning. Spending the day together outside the classroom will strengthen our ability to collaborate, communicate, and build positive relationships. Teamwork and cooperation. Navigating the park as a group will encourage us to work together, solve problems, and make real-time decisions.
Building confidence and independence. For many of us, visiting an amusement park offers opportunities to try new activities, step outside our comfort zones, such as riding roller coasters or navigating a large park independently. These experiences can boost our self-confidence and independence.
Emotional regulation. Managing excitement, anticipation, or even moments of nervousness throughout the day will allow us to practice emotional regulation in real-life situations.
Positive peer interactions. The shared experience of enjoying the day together will create stronger connections. Positive interactions outside the classroom can help strengthen our sense of community.
Safety and supervision. The class trip will be fully supervised by faculty members and parent chaplains. The park is staffed by trained professionals and equipped with safety measures to provide a secure and enjoyable experience.
In conclusion, this trip to Six Flags New England offers us an experience that aligns with our educational goals and provides opportunities for personal growth. We respectfully request for your approval to proceed with planning and organizing this trip. Thank you for considering this request.
I make a motion we accept the proposal for the trip, and girls, you did a wonderful job making connections to your curriculum and PBIS principles, so that was top tier.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Yes. No.
Hi.
Hi.
Great job, by the way, because I think the last year's 8th grade class didn't quite raise that much, if I'm correct. You guys did an outstanding job. You surpassed last year. So great job on that. How many of you are signed up right now to go?
About 53, depending on the year.
That's a lot. Yeah. And how many kids are in the 8th grade class right now?
5.
Oh, so almost everybody. Oh, wow. Congratulations. That's awesome. Great job.
Go ahead, sir.
You two should proceed directly to law school. Your presentation is absolutely stellar. I could see you both in front of the Supreme Court. If you can convince us that going to have fun at Six Flags is an educational experience, you can probably convince us of almost everything. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that presentation is improving by year to year. That's pretty impressive stuff. If there are no more questions, all those in favor of approving this, let me get my statement out. Excellent. 2026 NSBA National Speech and Debate Tournament. Amy Watson.
I need to invite the speech and debate team up with me here. I am, as you have heard a moment ago, just thrilled to be part of supporting this group. We have with us tonight Quinn Bay, who is heading now to the National Speech and Debate Tournament, and he will be competing in international extemporaneous speaking and competitions. And then Mr. Russell and Magnolia Johnson and Ronan Russell are carrying on the speech and debate tournament challenge in the middle school level, and they're going to speak about that as well. So here they are to talk with you.
Hi everyone. I don't know, I kind of want to say like sorry to be back so soon, but also thank you for having me back. Also, before I go any further, I just want to say before you two head to law school, spend 4 years on the speech and debate team. Yeah, and anyway, we're really excited. Amidst all of the great things that happened in our discussion here last month, I don't know if anyone remembers that there was a little footnote at the end where I said we had one competition left, and there was a second and actually larger, older, more prestigious national competition on the line for that one. And I said, you know, we're a brand new team, not banking on anything, but it happens, and here we go, it happened. So yeah, we stand before you tonight, not to ask for money, but to ask for, because we're so grateful for your generosity already with NCFL. So by the way, we bought our plane tickets for that tournament last week, so it's getting real. But yeah, just to ask for permission to go. So first, I want to highlight Quinn, who is the reason that this is on the table for qualifying in international extemporaneous speaking. And I'm just going to turn it over to Quinn here for a minute to talk to you about that experience and why he'd like to go.
I'm Quinn. I am a junior here at Sumner, and I joined speech and debate 4 days before the first competition with zero idea on how that worked. Originally, I started off in a congressional debate, which is the debate side of speech and debate, and I was woefully unprepared and got kicked very hard, but it was a learning experience, and honestly, I think that experience pushed me to do more of the speech side, which an incredible experience. I mean, I've met so many good people. I've built my public speaking skills, which helped me in so many ways, whether it be in a classroom or just regular, like at my Boy Scout meetings, speaking in front of like 20 kids who don't want to listen. But NSDA is a huge step up from that. And I think not only would the experience be great, seeing people I know from Maine, representing my home state, representing Sumner, but I think as well, just being able to put that down on like my college resume, or even just as a life experience, would be beautiful. I think that's it.
So yeah, so first and foremost, we're requesting permission for Quinn to be able to accept that invitation and represent Sumner. Again, not asking for any more funding from the board. I mean, if you want to give it to us, we'll take it. No, we're just asking, last time you approved us to use Vertical Raise, that fundraising platform for the NCFL tournament. And actually, we soft launched that fundraiser this afternoon earlier, and it's been going great so far, even in what I would call a soft launch, where most people who were, I mean, we're going to be sending it out all throughout the district and to all sorts of family and friends to see who can help us out. And it's only gone to the teentiest fraction, and we already, I just heard from some of the kids, they're really excited about, we're already almost at $900 in literally 3 hours. So I think we're going to have no trouble, even with the increased costs here, if you approve us to use it to go the rest of the way. But yeah, additionally, there's a middle school tournament as part of the NSDA national competition. And in my coaching career, I've mostly done high school, but I started dabbling in middle school recently. And my policy has always been, because that's not a qualification-based tournament, that's a tournament where anyone who can get themselves there may take part. And so my policy has been, I won't take middle school competitors to that tournament unless I'm already going for having a high school qualifier, and I have middle school competitors who've demonstrated that they're up to the task and they're committed enough. And we've hit those criteria now with Quinn qualifying. And so I'm going to turn it over here in just a second to Magnolia Johnson, a 5th grader at MVS, and Roy Russell, a 6th grader here at Sumner. They do happen to be my children. We hoped to have a broader middle school program this first year. We've had a little bit of interest, you know, kind of ebbing in and out, but the commitment that these two have shown, I mean, they do live with their coach, but nevertheless, the commitment they've shown has astounded me. Let me just give you one example. There's some info on here about how well they've done, but one example of how committed they've been, it still kind of blows my mind when I think about it. So Magnolia also recently was accepted into the Bangor Youth Symphony Orchestra. She's a fantastic piano player and percussionist, and that requires us to book it out of here on Thursday nights to get up to Bangor so she can rehearse with kids who are by and large high schoolers. She's by far the youngest kid in this ensemble. And these online competitions that they take part in they start at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was like, well, obviously we're not going to be doing the Thursday competitions anymore because her thing ends at 6:30. It's 40 minutes back to Ellsworth. And they were like, well, why can't we? And I was like, you're going to compete from the car? And they were like, no, let's find a place. And so I contacted the Bangor Public Library. So the last few Thursday nights, I've been spending an hour at the Bangor Public Library while these two nerds go and compete and continue to do really well. But that's the level of devotion. They weren't like, yeah, let's take it easy after a long day. They're like, let's get to the Bangor Public Library and keep competing. So let me turn it over briefly to first to Magnolia and then to Ronan to talk about why they would appreciate this opportunity.
My name is Magnolia Johnson. I'm going to be speaking before the board today real quick. Well, ever since I was little, I've seen people competing in speech and debate, and it's always just looked so amazing. And when I am performing, it's just beautiful. It's like I get sent into an entire new world. And last year, I couldn't compete, but this is like the first year I can compete, and I've just loved it. And I think I've been doing pretty well. And I would be really, really hopeful. I'm really, really hopeful, and I'd be really, really excited if I could go to the national and perform on the national stage, especially with RSU24's name slapped on me.
So hello, my name is Ronan Russell. I'm a 6th grader here at Sumner, and this is my 2nd year doing speech and debate. I really love speech and debate. My favorite event is actually the event that Quinn didn't like, which mixed feelings. But it's called Congressional Debate. It's actually very similar to sort of a board meeting, except it's on a bit of a grander scale, containing to the entire U.S., almost as in like a meeting of the representatives for the U.S. Congress. But Nationals is by far the most important speech and debate event. It's incredible. It takes over an entire city for an entire week. During the competition, you can go see the best at what they do in the world at their final round. It becomes sort of like a concert almost, and you can go and watch as they perform on a big stage their HI, or humorous interpretation, or dramatic events, or prose, which is like another acting event. The other thing you can do is you get to learn a lot about the area. Last year it was in Iowa and Des Moines, and we were able to explore the city and learn more about its history. This year it'll be in Richmond, one of the most famous cities in U.S. history, where Patrick Henry gave his "Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death" speech. And I am so excited to be able to go this year. I hope you will approve our request and allow us to fundraise. Thank you so much.
So, yeah, the last thing I just want to point out here, obviously there's a lot of info on here about the nuances, but the other thing that we were requesting, I'm not sure if there's a policy against this hearing, but I just wanted to make sure and request it, because it is a way to save money, and it's something that's very common for schools. It's what I've done with my last 2 teams at nationals, and that's to stay in Airbnb or Vrbo, like that sort of a lodging instead of a hotel. It really opens up you know, a more convenient setting for both of these events. We're much closer to the venues, even though at the second one we need to move around a lot throughout the city. And it also is just remarkably cheaper. Yeah, we're talking about savings of about $1,000 for each event. So one of that 1,000 will be from the board, and the other 1,000 will be from our fundraising. So I think it'll feel better for everyone. So yeah, thank you for considering and for letting us speak tonight. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. I wanted to make this motion like every time everyone spoke. So if everybody's okay with that, I'm just going to put a motion forward that we send you guys to this tournament. And I'm just super impressed with all 3 of you. You each, you have charisma, or what is it you guys call this, like Riz? Yes. You guys have that, and I appreciate it so much. So that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Yes, I have a couple of suggestions. First of all, Quinn, what town are you from?
Well, I moved here like a year and a half ago, so.
But what town do you live in now?
Franklin.
Okay, cool. And my second thought is, for all of you kids, you're speaking so often to older people. Don't rush what you have to say, because what you have to say is probably more important than almost anybody else who's going to speak in a meeting like this. So take your time. Don't be in a rush to get out what you need to say. Take your time so that the elders can hear clearly what it is you're saying. If it's worth opening your mouth, it's probably worth doing it in a way that everybody can hear clearly what you have to say, because it's clearly really important.
Can I interest you in an assistant coaching position? That's what I've been trying to tell these guys for a long time.
It's a violation of our ethics code.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor? Don't miss Katie's vote, she's back. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. We're going to excuse ourselves. We've been in these buildings since 7 a.m., so thank you all very much. We appreciate you.
All right. Item E, request for nepotism policy, that's policy BCC, the exception, not basement.
So thank you, Board Member Jen DeSharder brought it to my attention that the nepotism policy we are in violation of, and that, as Jeff pointed out, is policy BCC. Board Member Katie Garnett has a sister who teaches at the Ella Lewis School. Katie came on after Stacy was hired at the Ella Lewis School. I've done the research. The policy exceeds the state law. State law says spouse. We define it as immediate family members, which does include the sister. And so we've done this before as far as providing exception to policy BCC. We did it a number of years ago with Brenda Jordan, and she wanted to bring her daughter on for a 3-month stint, I think, as a long-term sub at Tech. And so I would request from the board that we provide an exception in this situation.
I make a motion we make an exception to policy BCC in regards to nepotism policy.
In a second.
I'll second it.
Okay. I'm gonna start discussion tonight before I move on. Maybe I'm hoping that we can shorten this up. It's clear that as it stands right now, well, we are in violation of our policy because we have an employee who is an immediate family member or a board member. However, the expeditious manner to put us in compliance with our policy would be to grant the exception. That does not negate the intent of our policy at all. The policy was created with a method for exemption within it. I would point out that our nepotism policy, within the language, it outlines situations where you would be certain to exclude family members, and that would be in a situation where you had, whether a family member, a board member in a family was within the administrative supervision chain of command for that employee, which certainly in this case, Katie is not. She is. Katie evaluates the superintendent alone. She doesn't evaluate teachers. She doesn't evaluate the principal who evaluates the teachers. It also mentions that we would want to ensure that if we're going to hire an employee, that employee would be qualified. Well, in this particular case, the employee was hired prior to Katie being on the board to begin with. And in everything that I've been given to understand, it has demonstrated she's certainly more than qualified for the position. It also mentions that an exception would be in the best interests of the RSU and its students. We have expressed, the board has expressed in recent years a desire to foster homegrown talent, if you will. We want more of our students to come back here and be teachers. They understand what it's like to grow up in this community. They understand the values of this community and how to reach these kids. And that's what we have here. We have homegrown talent who, by all accounts, is an exceptional instructional leader from what I can understand. I think it's clearly within the best interests of the RSU and those students to ensure that we do what we need to do to continue the employment of that teacher. It seems to me that with those things clearly laid out, the obvious course of action here is to provide the simple exception. I would recommend, in light of the fact that we have as a board expressed this desire to foster homegrown talent, that perhaps having a policy where this might come up again in the future and make it more restrictive for us to be able to do that is perhaps worth revisiting in policy. Maybe we don't want to make our policy more restrictive than state law, which just says spouses. Personally, I think it's worth revisiting in policy at a later date. For today, I'm going to strongly advocate for the exception. I think it's a simple cut and dry, in my opinion. But any other comments?
My only issue is this, we reviewed the nepotism policy back in September, and at that time is when the exemption should have been asked for, not 6 months later. I agree, we should never get rid of the teacher. That is unacceptable. However, the board member should have come voluntarily to us and asked for that exemption.
Would you like me to respond or no? My only thing is I mean, I haven't kept this a secret from anyone ever. In my interpretation, when I read the nepotism policy, it truly was in hiring. I had no hand in her hiring. I didn't think that an exception was required because I did not have a hand in her getting a job.
But we do have a hand in how much she gets paid and the policies that we have for every single school that we have to ask our teachers and our staff to follow.
I'm
I'm a little puzzled as to why, isn't this a personnel issue for the RSU24 to discuss? And in that case, why are we not in executive session to discuss this matter?
Yeah, I did consult with the attorney this afternoon. If there were charges, if you will, if there were wrongful accusations of performance, then we would in fact be looking to go into executive session, but we don't have that. And so I did confirm that this afternoon.
According, I think, to the main School Board Association handbook, whatever the question is regarding personnel, it should be addressed in executive session, is all I'm saying. And it seems to me if we're going to have criticism of our ethics, we ought to be pretty damn careful to stay on the proper side of all these discussions. And it seems to me the fact that one school board member has a relative who's a good teacher in this system, it should have been brought to all of our attention a long time ago, I think. Let's put it this way. I have a sister who I thought might be able to do some English, teaching English here when I first joined the school board, and I was told by the then chair immediately that I suggested this, that was not possible, that we had ethical nepotism rules, and that just wasn't going to happen. So I just think we ought to be applying our ethical standards accurately, clearly, openly. I don't like the word transparent very much because I'm not really never sure what it means, but we ought to be transparent in these things.
So I would offer that both Stacy, the employee, and Katie, the board member, excuse me, did agree to do this in public session. And again, I conferred with the attorney, and we're covered here. The other thing I would offer is there's a sort of a unique situation here where there's no process by which the towns work with the school system to vet potential school board members. And so I do, as part of this, I am going to reach out to the towns and make sure that they understand we should have some sort of communication between the district and the towns. Ultimately, the town handles the election. They turn the board member over to us, and after sworn in, and then they start their work. And so, truly, and the only way to address this through policy is to get rid of the teacher, and that's obviously not what we're going to do. So,
I'm not even suggesting that. Yeah. What I'm suggesting is, for all those reasons that there is no exact policy in place, it's imperative that members of the board act ethically and above board directly. Immediately this becomes apparent. It should have been said.
Please, I want to caution everybody. When you phrase it that way, Terry, you are implying that a board member acted unethically, and there's absolutely has been no situation where Katie has had any impact on her sister's evaluations, potential promotions, no individual job performance raises or anything like that. She has, well, I presume, had voted on a teacher's contract, which does not affect solely her sister. It affects roughly 95 teachers in the district. So she didn't vote to give her sister a raise at any point. She doesn't vote to specifically apply policies to her sister. Any policies that apply to her sister would apply to 95 employees. Any curriculum that she might vote on, again, not specific to her sister. So there's no, as I see it, there's no opportunity for a conflict of interest. There's no opportunity for nepotism that's going to create an advantage for her sister over any other employee. And I think it's dangerous ground to, if you start implying that she's acted unethically when and she's never concealed the fact that her sister is employed here. She may not have stood up on the stage and publicly announced it, but she certainly has discussed it with various board members, maybe not everybody. But anyway, I would caution anybody else, please be careful about where you go if you start talking about ethics.
Well, I'm not implying, I don't mean to imply that she acted unethically. I'm just saying that we have item BCC, nepotism, that states clearly that you can't have an employee and a school board member in the same district employed. I mean, I don't make this stuff up. This is what...
Unless you grant an exception.
Correct. And 2 years into it, we're granting an exception. That's fine. I think the board will vote and will probably grant an exception. All I'm saying is, it's been stated publicly here that this perception on part of the public that we are ethically challenged. And I think it's imperative for us to respond to that and make damn sure we are being ethical in what we do. We have a whole list of things that we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be behaving in the ethical rules and regs. And I could read them all to you, but I won't take up the time to do that. But I think we need to look carefully at where we come down. Some of the decisions that have been made are pushing the envelope rather hard. And I think we need to be careful because we're actually legally liable.
I agree 100%, and all the more reason that we're having this debate in open session where there's complete transparency and openness about this. Jen, I see you reaching, you go ahead, and I don't see anybody else waiting to comment, so yeah.
My only issue is, it's been 6 months. I realized Katie was new last year, and I wouldn't expect her to have read all of our policies, but we did review it in September. 6 months. And I found out about it because I overheard a conversation. And we have two people, our superintendent and our board chair, who knew and still didn't bring it for an exemption.
Yeah, I would offer, I felt the same way at the time that she came on, the same way that she interpreted the policy. Stacy was already in place, and I felt like it was the other way around. If she was hired and then Stacy came forward to the board, that's a nepotism issue. Came forward for hire, that's a nepotism issue. And I would just go back to sort of the ethical conversation. And if we feel like we need to go deeper into it, I would advise the board to go into executive session. At this point, I think you need to take a vote and go into executive session.
I'm ready to take it to a vote. I move we take it to a vote.
I want to be clear, are you moving the question?
Yes, I would like to move the question.
Okay, then I'm going to need a second to that, if anyone wants to second it.
Second.
And then we will need to have a vote of the board on whether to move the question. So all those in favor of moving the question, raise your hands. A yes vote means that we will immediately vote on the issue. Right. I think it's clear we have more than a 3/5 majority. So we will move the question. There's been a motion and a second. I'm sorry. Raise your hands again, please, so that Linda can get it down. We will be immediately voting yes. As soon as she gets the count. Terry's voting no. Okay. We clearly have enough. The question has been moved. All those in favor of granting the exception to the nepotism clause, vote yes now, please. And yes, Katie's obviously will be abstaining from this vote. No, I'm just making sure that everything. Okay, so the motion carries. We will be granting an exception to the nepotism clause. Again, I'm gonna urge the policy committee to revisit this, please. We can decide again, is this really the course of action that we want, or would we rather just comply with the requirements of state law? Item F, new teacher nomination, Mr. Eastman.
Yes, I am pleased to bring forward Amanda Tracy as the pre-K teacher at the Mountain View School. In August, Amanda began working at the Mountain View School as a pre-K long-term substitute while completing the requirements for her teaching certification. She has now earned the emergency certification in early elementary pre-K through 3 and is fully eligible for hire as a classroom teacher. Prior to joining the RSU, Amanda worked with students in a variety of educational settings. She served as an Ed Tech 3 at Lemoyne Consolidated and Hancock Grammar, where she provided academic and behavior support across grade levels. In addition, through her work at the Downey's Family YMCA and Downey's Family YMCA and Downey's Community Partners, she held both co-teacher and lead teacher roles. In these positions, she planned and implemented engaging lessons aligned with Head Start standards, fostered enriching early childhood learning environments, and provided appropriate accommodations to support students with IEPs. She holds an Associate of Arts degree in early childhood education with an emphasis in child development and classroom management. I highly recommend Amanda Tracy for the pre-K teacher position at the Mountain View School.
I make a motion we accept Michael's nomination of Amanda Tracy.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, committee reports. Ed Programming Committee. That's Katie.
So I usually go into much more detail, but because my voice is not great, I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. We met on February 10th in the Pathways classroom here on summer campus. And on our agenda, we just basically had a bunch of new classes to introduce. Data in the News was a new course. We had a lot of great discussions on how that will promote statistics, trends, and critical thinking about headlines instead of just taking headlines at their word. We had a proposal for Intro to Engineering, and we had a proposal for Welding 2, which would be building on knowledge from HCTC and creating a course to expand to TIG welding, which is basically the way it was explained, it's a need for a lot of required jobs in our area, and there will be donations of scrap from Mark Seavey and Stu Ben to practice on. There was also a proposal for business writing, which improves, it allows kids to exercise entrepreneurial skills, and it has a real world focus, and there is a difference between personal and business writing. We approved all of those courses for, I believe, next school year, and we had a discussion on the middle school health book that's being proposed. We decided to go with Glencoe. There are 20 mods, 3 to 5 lessons each, and we're hoping to add a health teacher next year instead of teaching us in advisory period. Sorry, my voice keeps cracking. And it will be one semester for 7th and 8th graders, and then we concluded that meeting at 6 p.m. Sorry.
Thank you, Katie. Budget workshop report. Thank you, Mayor.
That is me. Thank you. All right, so since we last had a board meeting, we've had 2 budget workshops. We met on February 11th at 5:30 at the DSF. We were called to order at 5:30, and we reviewed the following budgets. Mr. Eastman talked about ED 279, and then we reviewed Capeville, Mountain View, Hello Lewis Peninsula, Summer Middle, Summer High, ELL, curriculum assessments after school, gifted and talented, and instructional technology. So that meeting was adjourned, and the next meeting is following at February 5th. Also at 5:30 at DSF, we called order at 5:30. There were no adjustments, and then we reviewed special ed, adult ed, CTE, health services, facility operations, maintenance, student transportation, nutrition, system admin, debt services, and tuition. And then we did do the revenues cost sharing formula where we, I believe all the board members got this in your packet, where these figures that you should have seen. So for regional school RSU24, adult ed, it looks like we have a proposed revenue of 2.17% and proposed expenditures of 2.17% change. For the overall RSU24, the proposed expenditures increase is going to be a 6.75% increase. And then in that paper we did get, you also got for your local assessments what that would be. And if I'm looking at it correctly, Mr. Eastman, looks like local assessments look like a 10.35% increase. So I would like to first commend all of the administrators who put together all of the budgets. They were very long, lengthy meetings with a lot of questions, but everyone came very well prepared with a lot of the increases. The majority of the increases are due to pay raises and also insurances and benefit packages. For example, our nurses are taking full advantage of the packages, which I think is great, and that accounted to an increase. Mr. Eastman was kind enough to break down a lot of the numbers. And if you take out how much was attributed to wages and benefits, nutrition budget, which we added in after learning some new information throughout the year, as well as the increase in tuition that we pay for other districts for our school choice students. If you take into account all of that, it resulted in, I believe your number was the $1,575,518, which once you reduce all of that, all of the increases, we were going to have an increase that is about less than 1% of the budget of $254,229. So aside from us trying to retain the great staff and faculty that we have and increasing those benefits and the nutrition, we're really looking at a 1% increase, truly. And so I would like to say that I think everyone did a really good job of being very mindful and respectful of the taxpayers' funding. And so the committee would like the board to discuss if you're happy with that number, and if you're not happy with that 6.75% increase, what would be a goal number that you would like us to take back to the administration to see what we could work out. And I'll turn it to Mr. Eastman for more information.
Thank you. So first of all, our job as leadership team is to strike a balance between the needs of our students and what we hope our communities can afford. Costs, as we all know from our own pocketbook, across our own life, whether it's food or heating oil or what have you, are up there. And so just to reiterate that, the increase was $1,765,000, and if you take out $1,042,000 for the benefits and the salary increases, tuition we don't have any control of. And just a reminder that we've got several communities that have school choice, and so our Franklin K-8 students have school choice, and then our Eastbrook Waltham high school students and our Moriah students have basically K-12 school choice. And so we pay money to other school districts for those students to attend there, and that tuition has gone up. So that's about $304,000. And then our nutrition budget, we needed to increase because of cost, but to better cover the actual budget itself, and that's $165,000. So what I tried to communicate with the committee at our last meeting is that the increase is $252,000, which in light of all of the costs, that's not too bad. However, I'm very well aware that 11% is a lot of money to be asking of our communities, and so what I sort of charged the committee with was, bring it to the board for discussion, bring it to a vote if you want to make it formal to the board, or give us a figure and send the leadership team back have to do some work to figure it out. And so the committee then decided, let's bring it to the board to see what they think about the overall increases, which again is 6.75% increase in the actual budget. And then in taxation is at 11%. And some of this we have no control over, as I alluded to in the beginning. As part of the superintendent's report, the formula is not intended for districts like ours. And the commitment from the board has been, over the last year or so, plus probably, that we want to attract and retain employees. And in order to do that, you've got to have salaries that are attractive and that people want to stay around for, and same with benefits. And I would also add that we did hear from insurance, yes, and they're predicting no more than 14%. I'm hoping that's obviously not the case, that we're not at the high end. We budgeted 15%, so there'll be a small savings anyways. And regardless, just the committee will meet one more time, regardless whether there's a directive to chop some money off the budget, or if we just finalize numbers, so that we will meet one more time. So I guess with that, I would turn it over to the board.
Jeff, I'd like to make a motion that we push the budget back to the budget committee and see if they can't bring it down lower. 11% is still quite high, and I'm sure there is areas in which we can relook at.
Second.
For discussion.
All right, first of all, I don't think we need a motion to do that. They brought it forth to ask our opinion, but what they brought forth was suggestions for where they might look for savings in that budget. Now, I guess my question is, do they want those now, or do they want people to attend the budget workshop?
I have a list of items that I can present to Mary, and we can discuss it at the next budget meeting and give you guys some time to kind of look through and see what your thoughts are. And I definitely highly recommend other board members to attend so you can see where the money's going. It's not that we don't want to spend money. We have to spend money. That's what we do. We're a business of educating children and paying our teachers and healthcare and all that. So I'm totally on board with all that. It's just some of the places that where we are spending money or how it's being spent, I think we could trim it down.
I would just like to ask if we could get information to me prior to, like even maybe by the end of this week, if you either have like a goal cut number that you would like instead of maybe 11%, or would you in your town be happier with like 8%, just so in case you don't know where all the money is being allotted to, you could give me kind of a goal, and that might all work with Mr. Eastman, and we'll then pass that on to the admins, but I'd like them to maybe be able to do some work prior to that next meeting, which is I believe March the 11th, is that correct? Yeah, it's next week.
Yeah. So I would, if we could have that list sooner than that, because the leadership team will need to get together and discuss the proposed cuts as well as our own potentially. So and if we're going to be ready for the Wednesday board meeting, we truly do need this ASAP, and I'll have to work with the leadership team to try and find a time that we can get together over the next couple of weeks.
And Jen, not to put you on the spot, but do you have like a number range, like a percentage range that you think would be more appropriate for us to shoot for as far as when we make the cuts? You know, anything less than would be great, but is there like kind of a goal number that you and your community have?
I was hoping for a 9%.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Anything to help me kind of us to narrow it down? Do any other board members have any suggestions or feedback?
The only feedback I have is for the public. If you live in Franklin, it's scheduled to change and increase by 16.2%.
Anyone else? Any more feedback? So I'll try to echo, I think, Mary correctly. We'd like to have you have some information on a target. If you have specific areas that you would like the budget committee to take a closer look at, please get those to Mary and Mr. Eastman as soon as possible. They need to start working on this right away. All right? Thank you. And next up, I guess you're back on again, Mary Hunter, Policy Committee.
I am. All right. Oh, sorry. I'll try to hold it closer. Alright, so for policy committee, we met on February 24th at 6:30 at the DSF. We called to order at 6:30. We approved the January 14th meeting minutes. And then we have several policies that are up for revision. All of these policies were voted in favor to bring to the board on a vote of 3-0. So if it's okay with the board, I'd like to present them all together and ask for one motion to accept them all, if that's okay, since the committee all agreed on that. The first one is JFBB, inter-school choice. We added verbiage on where to obtain the form as far as for students to do that. And then for JFBB-T, Mariahville, PK through 8 school choice, we removed an underline, just a formatting change on that one. For JFABD, admission of homeless students, we opted to remove ours and update solely based off of the MSMA sample policy. We did, obviously with that, we made changes to define parent, and we also added our standard business building administrator verbiage on that. For JICK, bullying and cyberbullying prevention in schools, we did add, again, our BA for the formatting that we've done. We changed the word agency to agencies. We removed a note that is sometimes left in the MSMA sample policy. It's not necessarily meant to go into the body of the policy, so we did remove that from there, and we updated cross-references. For JICK-R, bullying and cyberbullying administrative procedure, we made very similar changes as we did to the JICK procedure, just with the BA and changing agency to agencies. And there's also a note in that we removed as part of the sample policy. For DNA, capital assets and other assets policy, we did a format change and added Regional School Unit 24 board. Normally we abbreviate that as RSUB, but that was the only time it was mentioned within the policy. For JJE, student fundraising activities, we added again RBA, and then also the expectation of the student involvement in order for them to be able to benefit from the fundraising activities. They would need to help raise the funds. For JICIA, weapons, violence, and school safety, we added the parent definition as we typically do with our policies. We also added a section about discharging a firearm within 500 feet as a prohibited action. We defined replica weapons, and we added stalking or blocking access as an issue, and redundancies were removed. There was a whole paragraph that was also stated again in the paragraph below it, so we removed the redundancies, and we added an exception and guidelines for the hunter's breakfast that we host. So with that, those are all of our policies that we have for revision, and the committee again voted 3-0 in favor of bringing these to the board, so we would be looking for a motion to accept.
I make a motion we accept the policies for revision as recommended by the policy committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor of accepting those policies for revision?
All right, and then we have 2 policies for first read, and I'd like to take those independently. And the first one is JFABD-R, education of homeless students. And since this is a first read policy, there's really nothing highlighted. There is something highlighted where we did add the special education director if the student is with a disability, but again, this is a new policy first read, so it was really not that it was a new thing to the policy. It was just highlighting that we wanted to include that verbiage in that policy. So if the board wills, we would be looking for a motion to accept this policy as first read.
I make a motion that we accept Jeff. I'm reading your name. JFABD-R for a first read.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this policy? For first reading, remember. And good opportunity just to remind people, if you have, read through it, please. If you have questions or concerns, get them back to the policy committee before this comes to the board next month for a second read and adoption, so that we can, if anyone has issues, we can make those changes. All those in favor of adopting this policy for first reading? All right, thank you.
All right, and our last policy that we reviewed, as a first read, is AC-R Title IX alignment. We did have lengthy discussions with this in the committee. There was the initial that we had looked at in the prior meeting. We did make changes to that. We struck through things that called out individual names of people. And then we've also had feedback from legal that says that if you looked at it, it will show as a strike through under the as interpreted by the federal government. That has been recommended to be removed. And then we did follow up on a question about sexual identity versus gender identity, and it has been noted to change that to gender identity, where the policy initially read as sexual identity. Other than that, the committee voted 2-1 to bring it to the board for a first read.
I make a motion, we accept ACR policy for first read.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
I'd be remiss, and I did mention this at the committee meeting, that by passing a policy like this, there is the potential for liability and risk against the district. Leave it at that.
Further questions? Yes, Gary?
Can we get a copy of this AC-R?
It's in your package.
I don't believe it is.
Oh.
It's in the email. It was emailed.
Can I get a hard copy of this? Being old school and I'm trying to read things on my phone, I think it's important to know exactly what we're voting on. I looked through it, I didn't see it, so that's why I asked.
Could you say that into the mic though? No, I think I was looking
I
at it.
apologize. There is a link in the agenda that does allow you to open it. I think I'd like to make mention of something. This states the board is committed to bringing the district into compliance with Title IX as interpreted by the executive order while complying with the Human Rights Act to the extent it does not conflict with federal law and providing a safe and welcoming environment for all students regardless of gender identity. I just think that we're still here. It's a little bit of an oxymoron. I think Mr. Eastman just said it out loud that voting this through would also open up lines for other lawsuits.
Thank you. Chair?
Again, I think, well, I do have some questions as regarding which executive order we're actually trying to bring our district in line with. So I have some reservations, obviously. It seems to me that it's not possible to bring us both in line with the law of the state of Maine, which is the Maine Human Rights Act, and a strict reading of Title IX. They're absolutely, I mean, the executive order reading of Title IX, they're in direct conflict. I don't see any other way to read that. But that's just my opinion.
For the executive order, we did include the number of the executive order into that policy for that clarification. So it does read for the executive order within the AC-R policy for the 14201.
Again, not to get too deeply into the weeds here, but one executive order specifies the restriction of girls playing on boys' teams or vice versa. The other executive order attempts to define, attempts to negate gender identity and puts in place sexual identity that it maintains is established at conception, which is biologically false as an executive. I mean, again, this is in the weeds, but our this Title IX alignment is a mass of contradictions. And that's why I'm glad to have a copy. Do I need to return this, or can I? Thank you.
Any other questions, Colin? Okay. All those in favor of adopting this for, again, I'll remind everybody, first read. This is not adoption. It's first read. All right, opposed? Yeah. Passed. Yeah. Just ensuring that we did okay. So we'll remind everyone again. That is first read. I think maybe it might be worth it for personnel to just look over that again and make sure that you have written in there what you intended to write in there. So I want to encourage you to do. Okay.
On that note, I would just like to that we are meeting again on March 17th at 6:30 at the DSF. So if anybody would like to join, that is amazing.
Thank you, Mary. We can cut her off. Okay. Board review meeting. Where shall we start? What? I usually start on my left. I'll start on my right. Marissa? Terry, go ahead.
I find myself in the unbelievably ironic position. I've been thinking a lot about Barry Goldwater, of all people. He's a political figure that most of you in this audience weren't born when he said the following. He was a deeply conservative man, and he said, "I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice. And let me remind you also that moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue."
All right, Jeff?
I believe that you and Michael should reach out to the NSMA and talk to them about maybe having the board take a code of ethics class session.
That's a very reasonable request and formal. Stephen?
I want to say congratulations to the Speech and Debate Club, as well as Amy Watson for getting that award for the speech and debate. And I hope that the 8th grade kids have fun on their class trip.
I want to echo what Stephen said, congratulations, and then I know the students have already left that presented, but if you would help send my admiration to them. They did an outstanding job. This can be kind of a scary thing to do, and they were completely confident, and it shows how much you've done with them as administrators and teachers, that they have that kind of confidence coming in here. So please congratulate them, and congratulations to everybody else.
So one of the first things I would like to say is that thank you everybody in attendance. I would urge everybody to call the representatives to support the changes to the EPS funding formula, because us being rural schools, it would be helpful for us to receive more funds on that level. And then after that, Amy, you were my next. Congratulations, and just thank you for supporting the speech and debate team. It's been amazing to see how far they were able to go in such a short amount of time. Again, I feel like I thank Whitney at so many meetings, but just again for her continued work and all of the supporting staff that helped make Aspirations Day and the Marine Forum a reality for our school, and all of the businesses, local and otherwise, for supporting that endeavor. And then I want to thank Shelley, Sue, Devin, and Amy for their presentations tonight and the questions that they were able to answer. Thank you to Bailey and Tessa for their presentations. I hope again that you're able to pass that along, and congrats to Speech and Debate, especially for Quinn and Magnolia and Roman.
I think everyone summed up most of everything that I would say. And thank you for your service in our military, and God bless our troops.
I'm not gonna repeat everything that other people have said, but I am going to, I was asked this afternoon by Whitney Crabtree to pass along an invitation to the board to attend the Aspirations Fair and the Marine Trades Forum, Marine Trades Forum that's going on this Wednesday. Next Wednesday, I'm sorry. Right. The first program, she said, begins at 9, but she said there will be people, particularly in relation to the Marine Trades Forum, there will be a number of people, she said, basically knowing about all day. If you want to see some of the good things happening in schools, board members, I think probably the best opportunity you're going to have this year. So if you can make it, it's here at the high school, and I show up. Mike says show up at the front door, and we'll point you in the right direction. So with that, future meetings are listed as usual. I'm not going to read them. I would accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? And opposed? That's carried. We're out of here.